Yeah, I completely agree. I really like the cycling from Mimpoike, but the fact that Haxan was able to avoid that CC just shut down the opener anyway, and now they're getting a lot of offensive pressure. The Demon Soul, of course, out from Infernian, he's at about 90% HP right now. Their whole team looks quite stable, but that same can't be said for Reawaken, who are all hovering about 50-40%. We do see the Hollow from Minpoike. He actually has to trinket that Stormbolt as well, so he's running a little low on cooldowns. He does have the Bark Skin if he does get swapped to, as we do see them trying to swap it over onto Infernian. And this is the Smoke Bomb. He does have to trinket out of that. So they have forced both the breaks, I believe, now from Infernian. Uh, there's still not much pressure coming out there. They're just trying to peel using the Sheeps, using the Spell Steals, just trying to keep themselves stable, and they will stabilize for now, but at the cost of their Heart of the Wild. So that might be significant going into the next Demon Souls.
Yeah, the Heart of the Wild is going to extend Minpoike's lifespan a little bit here, but he's even still just getting chopped through it. Turbo Resident Sleeper doing so much damage. Raikou down to 19%, caught almost into execute range. He's holding onto that ice block. Haxan Tutu not able to connect just yet. Now Heroic leaping in. Raikou still on the run, but he's not going to block. Haxan Tutu just catching him. Maybe on global, I'm not certain. Maybe he thought he wasn't in range, but regardless, Turbo Resident Sleeper are going to claim victory in map number 1, and they look to be dominating.
Yeah, Haxan played that really well, like both offensively and defensively. Just from the start of the game, they didn't really get to do what they wanted. Even the smoke bomb usage, it's like it just really forced the Warlock's trinket. You were hoping for more with that kind of cooldown, I think. I mean, maybe you want to even try hold it until the Warlock has used his trinkets, but they just felt like they were falling further and further behind. Maybe they just needed to shut down the damage. I mean, of course, smoke bomb does reduce damage as well. So a really dominating performance from Turbo Resident Sleeper.
Yeah, I mean, going into that game, though, I really hope that Reawaken isn't tilting too hard over that. Because, I mean, looking at Raikou's defensive abilities available to him, he had quite a bit, you know? So being able to get that block out really could have been a big deal. They still had a lot of defensive cooldowns to rotate through. So going into the next game, I hope Reawaken just, keeps their heads on straight and focused. Because it can be a very different game. Just get the jitters, warm up a little bit.
I wonder if they could just, because I remember Ellie Mage against Turbo, like the kind of game style was just sit back PvE, and I imagine against WLS you could even do it with more effect because you have then 3 decurses on your team. Like each person could even focus on just decursing themselves, and it's like, I think it would be super hard for the LSD to kill you. Maybe, I mean, the WLS to kill you. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe the just pressure from the warrior would be really high, but at the same time, Ellie Mage can just kind of tunnel down the warrior. I wonder if that's something they're considering going into the next game.
I feel like I've watched people streaming and they feel like Ellie Mage's biggest weakness is WLS, but I see your point too, where like if you just turret on the warrior, what's the warrior really gonna do? Like he can't go in, he risks like overextending. Like they can work out, but at the same time, I think RMD still has a fairly good win rate too. And I mean, they're obviously more practiced with RMD, having competed together in past tournaments, and I don't think they should really risk putting ZPi in for this matchup. I don't think it's that much of an edge.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, this is a really good RMD, and of course, like we can't take too much from the game. I mean, ultimately, all that happened was they died before cooldowns because Raikou was holding onto that block for such a long time. Like he could have blocked 5-6 seconds earlier, but like he held onto it correctly, and then Haxan unfortunately just reaching him before he could get the ability off. So
I think that's
like
a mistake.
it's kind of a throwaway game, but
that's like a mistake that we all make, right? Not just like forgetting to use our defensive cooldowns, but also forgetting that if we use those defensive cooldowns, the game can be very different. So here we go. I mean, if Raikou was able to get that block off, the rotation of the defensive cooldowns on Minpoike are relatively short with Iron Bark and Nature Swiftness. So I'm anticipating a very different game number 2 here.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I like Haxan fool them once, shame on you. You know the kind of saying, but if they're just able to get a clean open onto him this game, I think, and they do get it. They get the cheap shot if they can follow up with the Cyclone. But I think the Cyclone maybe got CEST. I didn't see. They land it now. Oh, they're landing the Cyclone onto the pad. I see. Okay, so they get the Cyclone now onto T-Bone. Inferno's taking so much damage, down to about 30% HP. They're gonna. He actually had to trinket the last second to get the link off. That's kind of unfortunate for T-Bone. I think they haven't committed the blind just yet, so they do definitely have that option to maybe even swap to T-Bow. Of course, the killing spree and all these cooldowns are still available for Waz. He definitely has the kind of the pick of the bunch right now. He can kill Infernian or T-Bow with those cooldowns. Right now, of course, Turbo ResidentSleeper not really able to get much pressure out either. They haven't committed any of their Demon Souls just yet. I'd like to see them commit one soon. There's Infernion's Demon Soul, but instantly corroded by Waz into the kidney shot. He has to unbound out of that base down to 50%. If they could have just got the CC onto Tibo, unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's anything really to follow it up. I think they do still have that blind available, but they're choosing not to commit it right now. And again, Waz didn't really use any offensive cooldowns. They're still all available for Reawakened.
Here comes the blind setup. Haxon sees that he's going to use the Vigilance, but often we see targets die through Vigilance. I think that's what we're going to see right now. Infernion just has nothing left to kite, and it looks like Reawakened have found their center and are going to take victory on the second map, tying the series up 1-1, and this looked completely opposite to the last match that we just saw.
Yeah, absolutely.
I completely agree. And the thing was, they got the opener this game, right? They got the cheap shot to Haxon. I wasn't entirely sure what their CC setup was going to be, but then of course, Minpoike able to get the Cyclone onto the pet, which means it removes the Soul Link for a few seconds, so the Warlock takes increased damage. It's really intelligent strategy from these guys. So they can get their min-max, their burst onto Infernion at the start of the game with those Ice Novas. And then, of course, Minpoike was able to freely swap the Cyclone over to the Shaman because there's no CS available when the pet's in CC either. So, excellent CC coming out of Reawakened, and they just forced so many cooldowns instantly that on the second go, there was no regen, there was no trinket. It was just a free kill for them.
Free kill indeed. That was pretty clean. That was pretty clean.
Not sure if we can hear David or not, but it was definitely much more polished by the side of Reawakened. I'm interested to see if they can keep that momentum.
Yeah,
these games are good.
They are good so far. I mean, WLS versus RMD, it has a special place in my heart when it comes to the level of play that they do produce. So, and I mean, all 6 of these players are top players. So that's a much different game than game number 1. But at the same time, I still feel like it's like flip now. I feel like the WLS could definitely show us a little bit more too going into that, like rotating through their defense cooldowns and surviving. But I'm basing that, completely off of. Sorry, just a moment. My cam region was freaking out. Sub RMD versus WLS, because that's what I'm familiar with, right? So here we go. We're going to be going into game number 3 between ResidentSleeper and Reawakened. RMD versus the WLS here. And this is actually the map choice coming out by the WLS. So a much closer quarters, but still has those pillars map choice. Maybe you want to get that spread pressure out faster to Reawakened, almost as like... I don't know. I feel like that's like a really big thing that WLS has. They have a lot of pressure. And so when Reawakened's going in, a big way to stop their momentum and to stop their setups is to pressure them defensive. And I think Dalaran will help them do that.
Well, yeah, I think so as well. They were so slow on the Demon Soul last game as well.
Well, I think it's more like Haxon. Haxon needs to be open. The first game he got to Bladestorm and immune the stuns when they committed. And that game he just got cheap shot. He wasn't able to immune it. So if Haxon can like keep it seemed like Haxon really carried the start of the first game, and he wasn't able to do the same thing the second match. Maybe Haxon should just shrink it. I'm not even sure.
I mean, he's clearly holding it for the vigilance later in the game, right? If he has to, but I completely agree that the amount of offensive pressure they got last game out of Haxon being free says in my mind that they should just be triggering using Warrior at the start, even using that vigilance if he doesn't think he'll get it off later. But I really think so. And he does get the Blades on this game, so this is already a better opener for Turbo ResidentSleeper. They also get the CS onto Minpoike's Cyclone, so they should be able to get a lot of pressure out here. There's no healing coming out from him just yet. He's down to 40% already. He can't use that Bark Scene, of course. He gets leaped after by Haxon. Haxon with the Recklessness up forces the Iron Bark onto Minpoike. He was able to hold onto that skin though, but no Iron Bark available for his team. Now Infernion needs to get the damage out. He does have that Demon Soul available right now. The Horn onto Waz. He might just go down. The NS coming out barely in time. The Heart of the Wild from Minpoike as well, but everyone's rotting on his team. This is such a good opener for Turbo ResidentSleeper. He's down to 12%. He could just go down. The evasion barely enough to keep him alive, but now it's Raiku's in trouble. He has to block. So many defensive cooldowns coming out of Reawakened right now.
Ooh, Haxon actually chose to use his trinket aggressively there. He trinketed to try and catch Raikou on global to execute, but he didn't find it. So now Haxon is down his trinket. Maybe they could punish him with a smoke bomb overextended. He seems to be pretty far from his team. They're going to clone him up. They need to deny this Dark Soul from Infernion. A good kidney shot is going to stall out the damage a bit, but they don't follow up the deep freeze. They're going to use the blind instead. Waz is on the hunt, just going after Infernion. Infernion's going to gate away. He's trying to kite to the best of his ability. Defensive Fierce coming out. Defensive double Shadow Fury. But Tebow gets the sap anyway. The Shadow Fury maybe just a second too late. They're actually going to clone up Infernion, and that's going to pause out the game here. It seems like Waz is just waiting for the clone to end. He wants to keep attacking, but Raikou is just so low, and Poike is struggling very much to heal through the damage at the moment. Haxen Tutu getting cloned up. Is Raikou going to go in for the deep freeze? He does. Full kidney shot onto Infernion. They're going to drop the smoke bomb. I don't think Infernion has a way to break this kidney shot, or at least he's choosing not to use it. He's down to 50% HP, but they don't follow up any more CC. They do manage to get the frost shot on his Ascendance. If they could follow it up, they might be able to end it. Nope, T-Bow's going to get that Spirit Link off in the nick of time. A Stormbolt over on him in Poike. Haxen Tutu just chopping him apart, down to 50%. He trades at the Bark Skin. He's going to blink away, looks for that defensive clone, lands that onto Infernion, but it still seems like Reawakened are struggling to get anything going.
I mean, Chiba is still holding on to his trinket. They used the blind, he didn't even have to trinket that, and now it's just like Turbo, ResidentSleeper are doing so much damage to Raikou. He's just constantly under pressure. There's no Iron Bark available. There is the NS. He gets feared up. Unfortunately, the fear breaking onto Minpoike there may be a slight mistake from Turbo, ResidentSleeper, as we do see them turning it over onto Infernion. He's down to about 50%. T-Bow sitting through the sheeps, though. He looks like he's quite confident to do that. He's going to have to trinket out, though. Surely he's going to get the link off, and that's a lot of cooldowns forced. They don't really have anything left after that exchange. Reawakened starting to take the lead in this game, perhaps.
I think Haxen will have his trinket in time for the next setup, but they really need to counter pressure right now. Infernion sees that. He's going to pop his Dark Soul, boosting his damage a lot, but Minpoike is going to root up Haxen. It does eventually break, however. It seems like they're just trying to force Waz away. They know this next setup could be lethal. They have to make sure that Waz can't push in. He's down to 40%, but he's got that combat readiness. Here comes the attack. What is Infernion going to do? Haxen Tutu trinkets out, gets the Vigilance, but we saw this last time. Vigilance wasn't enough to survive. Will it be enough this time? Infernion's desperately trying to kite, desperately trying to counter pressure at the same time. They don't follow up the CC. This is detrimental. Minpoike is now in trouble. Down to 30%. He's blinking away. He's going to manage to get away clean, and we see a full blind now onto T-Bow. I'm curious if the Polymorph TR is over. If they can sap the blind, Infernion could be in a lot of trouble. They're going to follow it up with a Frost Shot. Infernion gates away, but Waz is going to reconnect. They follow that up with another clone into the full bash. Infernion's going to trinket out, but here comes the killing spree. Waz doing so much damage. Surely Infernion is going to go down. They followed up with the full sheep, and Reawakened CC juggling on T-Bow was just endless.
Reawakened did a fantastic job this game surviving through all of that. And looking at that replay real quick, their health bars were so low. Everyone was in execute range there for brief periods of time throughout that game. You know, they rotated through the defensive cooldowns even in those close scenarios. They survived. They got the CC they needed. They got the setups they needed to get a really clean kill there. And they're going to take game number 3 here on Dalaran Sewers, and they're just one win away from continuing on here in the upper bracket and knocking Turbo ResidentSleeper down.
Yeah, and the thing, this was the exact same opener as game 1, right? Like, Haxan was able to avoid all the CC, he got such a nice opener, they got a lot of pressure. The only difference was they used these defensive cooldowns this time, and I think as bad as it looks for Reawakened, as long as they just trade out those defenses, because this is all the offensive cooldowns coming out of the WS, it's Recklessness, it's 1 or 2 of the Demon Souls, and honestly, it's the Warlock Trinkets as well, and they're very important because it means if he pops Demon Souls later in the game without trinkets, of course, Waz can just shut him down completely. He can Kidney, he can Garrode, he can Cheap Shot, he's got all these tools to shut down the damage. It just means they have to survive that opener, and once they do, I think they're more than likely to stabilize, but at the same time, Haxan was pumping out a lot of damage. This guy's such an offensive warrior.
He absolutely is, man. But I think you kind of need to be almost when you're going with the WLS. I mean, obviously you need to recognize those moments in which you need to play defensive and you need to rotate to those defensive cooldowns and pull back, maybe not overextend. But he's doing a great job at being offensive when he needs to be and forcing the RMD to play defensive. But the RMD, you know, one thing that I gotta give him credit for is that even when they are at low health, like for example, Raikou last game, he died without blocking, but just before that, he was at like, you know, 20% healthier, still looking for those CC opportunities, still looking to get those setups. And I think that you have to do that. If you fall too far behind in your setup and not getting efficient amount of trades as RMD, you're gonna slowly fall behind and you're gonna slowly rot to WLS. So you kind of, even though that you're getting chunked down, you kind of still have to stay in their face somewhat. It's a weird harmony between the two, but they're doing a fantastic job in making it look easy. And here we go. We're going to be going into game number 4, and the map choice is going to be Blades Edge Arena for the WLS. What do you guys think about that map choice?
I think it's smart for Infernion, but the RMD doesn't have to go for Infernion. So T-Bow needs to be careful on this map.
True. T-Bow, the Resto Shaman, needs to be careful because Train the Blue is a super viable option.
Well, the nice thing about Blades Edge is even, like, obviously the lock has the 2-tier map, which is a big advantage because he can just pot up. But also if they kind of sit behind that pillar, like the one at the end of the bridge, it forces the rogue and the mage to commit if they want to do damage, like stack up a little bit in that kind of box, which means the blade storm and all this AoE damage is going to be easy swaps for hacks, and they're going to be kind of on top of him if they are committing. But at the same time, Reawakened can kind of just drop down if they're in trouble as well, I feel like, and then maybe that's where the advantage of tier 2 comes in that they can't really kill Infernian. Perhaps, but we'll see. I mean, I think it's an intelligent map choice. I'm surprised they didn't go for it last game, to be honest. Maybe they thought on Dalaran, like similar logic, they can kind of stack up Reawakened and do a lot of damage to them, which almost worked out, so it's reasonable. But yeah, I think Blade Touch is a good choice. I really want to see MLS play. I don't know if MLS will do good against RMD. I feel like maybe it won't, but I would love to see it come out from these guys because I haven't seen it yet.
Your own selfish needs.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, I've seen WLS, and like it's a really close matchup, and I really like watching it, but I just haven't seen the MLS. You know, I'm really excited to see it.
Yes, guys, I am aware. We're intermittently dropping FPS, but it's for a very brief period of time, so I'm not really sure what exactly is causing that. We've done speed tests, we've done all the tests that we can, and it's quite odd that it's happening, to be completely honest with you. It's very random. But yeah, we seem to be stable for this very second. But mind you, the connection itself is very, very stable, so we won't be going offline per se, but we might run into a little bit of FPS lag, and sorry for that. I need to start downloading Rep Paladin stuff. I know, for real, man. I do. I need those Rep Paladin guides. But thank you so much for the resubs. We did get a 2-month resubs from Decky Het. We got a 12-month resub from Fez Foos. And we got a 2-month resub from Unique Style. Thank you guys so much for that ongoing support. I love you guys so very much. For real. Thank you guys once again. But we're going to continue on here.
I wonder if MLS would... I mean, I think that they're committing maybe too much to Minpoike. Like, I understand that going Minpoike, like, it pressures him. They're trying to stop him from cloning. But it seems like they're, like, chasing him to the point where he drags him into a bad spot. It seems like maybe they could just split. Oh, actually, never mind. Doesn't matter.
They are going for it. I like that.
What do you think? What do you think?
I'm not sure about it on this map though, because I think they're just gonna go mage, maybe. The reason I don't like MLS into RMD is because when I've played the matchup, it feels like mage is quite easy to kill. Like, you need 3 setups essentially if you can just force Trinket out with the blind. Maybe they think, maybe if is Infernian running Howl? I'm kind of curious about that. Looks like he's running the Shadow Fury. But maybe they think they can just get so much pressure on this map because it's quite an open space if they stay upstairs. I mean, I certainly think Magelock can just kind of snowball against RMD. If you start getting the CC chains on Minpoike and force the DPS to run away so they can't stop the CC chains because they're just taking a lot of damage, then you can just kind of win the game, like maybe even through Cloak of Shadows from Waz, but
Yeah.
it's such a killable comp, I think. MLS, I don't think it's that tanky.
For those that don't know, Magelock Shaman is a much more crowd control based composition. So we saw the Warrior's more based around damage, kind of surviving. So this composition is kind of like the Rogue Mage Druid, where they have a lot of crowd control. They're looking for long CC chains on healers and trying to isolate a target. So it seems like Reawakened have started the CC chain. Tebow caught in the sap, but Fried Kitty was left open. He's looking for some defensive sheeps here, I think, but he did end up getting counterspelled. And it looks like they might swap to Tebow. They've got him caught into a full stun, a surprise attack over under the Resto Shaman. How is he going to react to the situation? He's just getting bursted so hard. Trinkets into the Garrote silence and just gets popped. And Reawakened are going to advance.
That was so funny that you said just before this game, Tebow's going to have to look out, and then there you have it. Reawakened's just going to go ahead and knock him down with a 3-1 victory, and they're going to continue further on in this bracket. But ResidentSleeper, they're not out of it just yet. They still have that lower bracket to fall down to continue to compete here. And so we're not going to, that's not the last that we're going to be seeing of them. But taking a quick look at that replay on how it actually went down. The opener originally onto Infernion, but the hard swap with the kidney onto Tebow. Infernion jumping down, not being able to peel into the DR deep freeze, still not being able to peel, finally getting the fears off. Too little, too late. And there you have it. GG's goes to them. We're going to be going into the next series here. Up next, I believe, I'm not sure.